to another episode of Discipline Habits Podcast. I'm your host, Jess Gordon, and today I have a really awesome guest, Ashley Weinstock.
Hi.
Yes, so this is one of my friends that I've known for a really long time. I don't even know when we met.
Probably like 8 or 9 years ago at this point.
Probably, yeah. And so we both ended up at Penn State, the best school. So I wanted to have her on today because her and I share something in common that not a lot of other people share in common. So, Ashley, do you want to tell them?
We have type 1 diabetes.
Yes, we both have type 1 diabetes, and we've both been living with diabetes. So I've been living with it for almost 12 years. How long have you had it?
Almost 10.
Okay, so we've had diabetes for quite some time now. And actually, this is a disciplined habit, guys, because it's an invisible disease when you look at us, but it's not invisible to us. Like, we are always managing it, always monitoring our blood sugars 24/7. It's a 24/7 job. So both of us can speak on this topic, you know? So Ashley, do you want to tell them a little bit of your story of how you got diagnosed?
Yeah, sure. So I was diagnosed when I was 11 years old. And basically, symptoms started showing up like pretty early on, and I didn't even like think of it. Earlier that year, I was diagnosed in September. Earlier that year, my vision went blurry, and I had to get glasses. And now, since I've had insulin, I'm 20/20 vision, so that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So like things like that. Over the summer, I went to Disney World with my grandparents, and I was getting like calf sores, like Charlie horses all the time, and I was drinking a lot of water, and I was peeing a lot, and like you just think it's summertime, like you're walking around Disney World, like whatever. So how I really knew was 1 week, it was a Wednesday, my stomach just started killing me, and it hurt really, really bad. And I went to my parents, and I was like, hey, like, I need to stay home from school. And they were like, okay, like, whatever. And then Thursday rolls around, and I asked again, and they were like, no, like, you're going to school. Like, they thought I was faking it. They thought I was getting, like, bullied. And I was, like, trying to, like, stay home from school.
That's so funny.
So I was like, oh, like, okay. So I pushed through Thursday. And then Friday came around, and I was like, no, like, I can't do this. So I asked my mom, and she's like, you need to go, like, talk to your dad, see what he says. So I went to my dad, and my dad was like, that's it. If you really, like, are hurting this bad, I'm taking you to the doctors. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like, at this point. And so I went to the doctors, and they did, like, a urine test, and there was sugar in my urine, so they took my blood sugar. And when they took my blood sugar, it, like, was only like 260 something, which
really?
Isn't that crazy for getting diagnosed. I feel like I've heard stories of people getting diagnosed and they're like in the thousands.
Yeah, I was diagnosed at 950.
Yeah, so. Like that's crazy. Like I caught it like pretty early on, luckily. So like 260 now, like I'm thinking about it, like is not that crazy. But like my doctor is like, okay, like you have type 1 diabetes, like you need to go to like Hershey Med Center. And I was like, I just started bawling my eyes out. Like I was freaking out because my grandma's had diabetes for like over 50 years, probably like 55 years at this point. And
type 1?
Yes, type 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was diagnosed like before all my uncles and my dad were born.
Oh, wow.
So she was really young. And so she does old school. So she does like no carbs, like no sweets. So that's like the only thought that I had in my head. So I was like, I can't have birthday cake anymore. I can't eat any sweets. I was like, my life is over. I'm 11 years old. And so I was freaking out. And my dad was like, thank God my dad was always so involved in my grandmother's journey with diabetes because he was always like going to her doctor's appointments and like knowing what was going on with her diabetes, whereas like his brothers weren't like as involved as he was. So he wasn't freaking out that much. Like he was, but he was like, oh, you'll be fine. But I was like, I can't have candy. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Our stories actually, I don't think I've ever heard your story, to be honest. And I feel like our stories are actually sounding pretty similar. But also I did want to preface, like, so average blood sugar, we'll get into what diabetes is, but average is like 80 to 120. So when her blood sugar was 260, way high, that's like out of range. And for me being 950, extremely dangerous.
Extremely.
Yeah. So honestly, I never even felt sick, which is crazy being 950. Yeah. But anyways, into my story and how it kind of is similar to yours, Ashley. So it was the summertime. I was a little kid, running around, but I was always thirsty. And I remember a lot of times going on my friend's trampoline and being like, I'm so thirsty, like for whatever reason. But everybody just thinks, oh, it's summer. Like you're young, you're jumping on the trampoline. You just need like some water.
Just dehydrated.
Yeah, dehydrated. But it was honestly kind of a little bit more dramatic. diabetic, and my mom was like, I don't know about this. And so her mom has type 1 diabetes, just like your dad. So she was like, this is really interesting. Jess is acting like this, drinking, peeing. I was very, very skinny. I lost a lot of weight.
Oh, I lost a lot of weight too.
Yeah, so that's another symptom of type 1 diabetes. And yeah, so I was like stick thin. And yeah, so my mom was like, yeah, I think we should probably have your grandmother come over and check your blood sugar because she had a sugar tester. And so she does. And funny enough, actually, we had pasta that night, which is not a good, it's heavy in carbs and it's kind of hard to keep your blood sugar in range. And especially being somebody who was an undiagnosed type 1 diabetic at the time, I had the pasta. We checked my blood sugar on my grandma's meter. The meter is like too high, can't read, whatever. And my grandma immediately starts crying because she knows what that means. And she's obviously very heartbroken that her little granddaughter is now going to live with the same disease that she has. And so I'm confused, but I also knew that my grandma had a pump and we called that her game. So I was like, oh, I'm getting a game. That's literally what I said.
Oh, my God.
I literally said that. I can't make it up. I was like, oh, I get to have a game like grandma. She always uses that after dinner. Yeah, not a game.
Not a game.
Yeah, so basically, we go to the hospital. They don't have a pediatric endocrinologist there, so we end up going to Danville. Yeah, so, but all in all, my blood sugar was 950, which is super crazy high. Like I said, the normal is 80 to 120. So very high. Crazy. And I wasn't even sick. I was just more confused and like, what's happening to me right now? Yeah. But obviously it was like a huge thing because that's a life-changing diagnosis. And essentially for Ashley and I, our lives are never going to be the same unless there's a cure. I mean, lucky enough, we have technology. So I don't know. Do you have an Omnipod?
Yeah, I have Omnipod 5, so it's like connected to my Dexcom.
Yeah, so I have the T-Slim pump, which is connected to my Dexcom, which is on my phone. So really cool to have all that technology with having type 1 diabetes. But it didn't start off like that. I'm sure same with you. I started off 6 months taking insulin shots. Yeah, so that's like, as a kid, that's very crazy and like wild. I don't even know like how you were handling it. How did you handle shots at the time?
It was terrible. I mean, like originally my parents would be giving me the shots because I was just too scared. And then eventually, you know, I had to go back to school. I was diagnosed in September. So like it was, you know, school time. Yeah. So I went back to school and I had to learn how to give myself my own shots. And also, I had to go into the nurse's office because this is before I had a Dexcom. Like, when you're first diagnosed, like, you don't get a Dexcom right away.
Yeah, no.
Or, like, an insulin pump or anything.
Yeah.
So, because you're in your honeymoon stage.
Honeymoon phase,
which is, like, basically, like, your pancreas is still working a little bit.
A little bit.
So, it's, like, your blood sugar's kind of all over the place. But,
yeah.
So, I was going into the nurse 3 times a day. I'd go in the morning at like 10 a.m. I'd go in for lunch and I'd give myself insulin. And then I'd go in like at like 2 p.m. So just to make sure my blood sugar was okay. Yeah. And I remember the first day I came back to school, like so vividly, I went to go check my blood sugar and my mom came into school because I was just like, scared. I was just a nervous wreck. So my mom's like there in the nurse's office with me. I take my blood sugar and I'm like shaking because I was just shaking. And the nurse was like, it's okay, sweetie. Like, it's okay to be scared. And then we test my blood sugar and it's like 56. And I was like, oh,
that makes sense why I'm shaking.
I was like, so I wasn't shaking because I was maybe a little bit of nerves, but like I was
mostly
like,
because you're so low.
I was literally like this, like holding the thing. And oh my God.
That's so funny. Yeah. Similar story. Like I was always in the nurse's office playing I always had to have a friend hold my hand. I always had a friend, whether that was my sister, my parents, I don't know, whatever I was doing, I had a friend hold my hand so I could prick my finger, give myself a shot, whatever. But it actually took me a really long time before I could do my own site changes, actually.
Really?
It was until I got to KDKC, which that was a whole other thing. But also, I think that we should definitely tell them, like, the dumb version of what type 1 diabetes is, because before we start getting into technical terms. So what do you normally tell people when people say, what is type 1 diabetes?
Okay, so what I normally say is there's this organ in your body called the pancreas, and it produces insulin, which it really doesn't. It produces something like insulin, which I heard. It's not, whatever. So I'm like, it produces insulin, and insulin regulates your blood sugar and makes sure it doesn't get too high or too low. And then they're usually like, well, what happens when it goes too high or too low?
Yeah, that's the follow-up question.
And I'm like, if I go too low, I need sugar because I'll pass out. And if I go too high, then I'll go into a coma. And then they're like, oh my God, so like that must be really hard to like stay in that like range. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what diabetes is. So usually the follow-up questions are like, so what's that on your arm? What's that on your leg?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, the thing on my leg is my Dexcom. That's my blood sugar. It goes to my phone.
Yeah.
And then the thing on my arm gives me the insulin, which brings my blood sugar down and keeps it in that normal level.
Yeah.
So.
You said that so perfectly. And literally the same exact questions for me. They're like, oh, what's the devices on your arm? I remember in 6th grade whenever I first got my Dexcom, and it was very obvious you could see it because it's changed over the years, but it was very big. Okay. That was so weird. That's happened before. I don't get why it does that. Anyways, and my teacher, my 6th grade teacher said, oh, so you're like a bionic woman now. And I was so offended. That's like so offensive. I was very offended. And especially being a 6th grader, like, that was probably not the best thing to say. Now, I don't really care what people ask me because I'm like more mature and I'm like, whatever, I'll answer all the questions. But yeah, the questions are always like, what is type 1 diabetes and like, what does too high, too low kind of mean? And she said that perfectly. You have to be in the good zone, which I said is like 80 to 120. I normally try to stay in between 100 and 130. That's kind of my sweet spot. But yeah, this is a disciplined habit because 24/7 regulating our blood sugar without our phones, we would not know what our blood sugar is 24/7. And essentially these are life-saving devices because if our sugar's too low or too high, then like she said, coma or pass out. So you pick your poison.
Yeah,
kind of deal. So yeah, I think that I wanted to tell a really funny story. I just kind of refreshed Ashley's memory before we came on here about, so we both go to Penn State, obviously. And so fall of freshman year, I'm pretty sure it was fall of freshman year, I was like roaming around. It was like a Friday night, whatever, hanging out, and my insulin pump like failed or something happened and I was really high, and I knew that she was on campus our fall of freshman year, and so I texted her and I was like, hey girl, I'm really high right now. My blood sugar is out of control. Like, I'm not feeling so hot and I don't have any insulin. Like, is there any way I can borrow some? I literally asked that. Sure enough, she came in clutch.
Yeah, but I reminded her then, like later, I must have been after this, I don't know, but I ran out of Dexcoms, and so then I texted her, and she came in clutch. Like, we were saying how nice it is to have somebody else, like, in the area, and, like, just also it's really nice that, like, you're from State College, and, like, your parents are here. And I remember when I, like, decided to go to Penn State, well, I didn't really have a choice, but when I came to Penn State, my parents were, like, texting your parents, because they were, like, it's just nerve-wracking. Like, living life, and, like, I don't know if you have this issue, but like with drinking with diabetes, it's hard.
Yeah, that's like, a whole other can of worms.
Like, it's hard. So my parents were just really, really nervous about me, but they felt so much better and like secure that like your parents were here and like that you were here and like it's just a nice community to have because like it is scary and like sending your kid off like after the, you know, like living with them with diabetes for so long, and then you're just like, okay, let's see if you can do it on your own. Like, good luck. Let's see if you can actually take care of yourself.
Yeah, essentially.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, definitely. So. I can't even imagine, like, our parents' point of view. No. I mean, for me, a little bit differently because, like she said, my parents live here, too. So, a little bit different. But for your parents, I can't imagine, like, sending your kid off that has diabetes to college and they're by themselves, which that also leads me into the next thing of how we know each other is, again, the diabetes community, guys. It's great. I'm really thankful, though, for, like, the people that I know that have type 1 diabetes because truly couldn't get through some of the stuff without them. But, so we have a friend. We have a mutual friend. Her name is Jess, ironically.
Shout out Jess.
Shout out Jess. Oh, I'm going to be sending this to her. So shout out Jess. She was like one of my best friends that I met at a conference like years ago. I don't even know if it was a conference. To be honest, I don't really know what it was, but
something with diabetes.
And so we met there. And so she introduced me to you.
Yeah, so basically I knew her because I was diagnosed at Hershey Medical Center, and Jess was also diagnosed there, and her dad's also a doctor who also has diabetes,
Yes.
type 1, which is pretty crazy.
Crazy.
And so my, like, nurse practitioner, whatever, when I, like, whoever taught me, like, about diabetes the day after I got out of the hospital, she kind of set me up with the OSERS and was just like, okay, like, you know, here's somebody your age who lives in the town over from you. Like, you guys should connect. And so I remember, like, we would just hang out all the time. And, like, our siblings got along, which was great. And, like, the four of us would all hang out. And then our parents obviously got along great. And then they were like, we were like, oh, we love Penn State. We go to all the Penn State football games. They're like, oh, we have friends, like, in Penn State who their daughter also has diabetes. And so then we just met one time. And
we just met one time. And
now our parents are, like, still in touch.
Yeah, our
like,
parents are tight, you know?
My parents asked if your parents were going to be at the Blue-White game.
Really? Are your parents going to be there? That's so funny. That is so cute.
So,
oh my goodness, that's so cute. I love that.
Diabetes makes friendships.
Yes, it does. Clearly, we are good friends, and we've, like she said, we've known each other probably for 8 or 9 years.
It's been
which
a while.
is like crazy that we have known each other for so long, and it's literally the reason why we're connected is because of type 1 diabetes. So it's really wild. But back to, I don't know, like, type 1 diabetes, there's so many questions that people ask about it because I like to tell people it's almost like its own language. I don't know if you've ever said that to anybody. It is really complicated. Like, we could sit here all day, guys, and just blab at you, but we're not going to do that because it's not exactly the most glamorous thing in the world. But it is just, like, crazy that this disease is, like, so complicated.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know about you. Like, I don't really talk about it that much. Like, if somebody asks, I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. But I feel like sometimes I just kind of do my own thing.
Yeah. I definitely try and do my own thing. I mean, people are going to ask questions, and that's inevitable. So, like, I don't mind answering questions when people are nice about it and when they're, like, just curious. But when I was younger, like, kids were rude. Like, kids are mean. And so, like, they'd just be like, ew, that's disgusting. Like, what even is that? And I'd be like, all right, like, whatever. And, like, I would just get so butthurt because I was just so young and just, like, now people don't really say anything like that to me anymore. I think people are a lot more mature and respectful. So
I am more curious now.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't really, I just kind of beat to my own drum. Like, I just kind of deal with it. My roommates obviously know. My close friends know. And thank God for my roommates because, like, there are times where, like, I'm so low and I'm just, like, unable to function. And, like, my roommates will come, like, to me, like, shoving my face with, like, fruit snacks and apple juice. And they're like, you need this. And, like,
that's so cute.
They, like, know what to do, which is just so helpful. And they genuinely, like, care, which is great. But, like, everyone, like, in my close circle knows, like, what's going on. And they know how, like, to deal with it, basically, you know?
Yeah, like the basics.
Yeah. I mean, no one that doesn't need to know really knows. I mean, unless if, like, I was in PE class and I didn't want to do, like, 100 burpees. So I just be like, low blood sugar. I'm so, like, I definitely am. I'm definitely guilty of using that once or twice in my high school career.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Like, I don't know. I didn't want to do it. So I was like,
I pulled a diabetes card. That's so funny.
But
oh my gosh, that's hilarious. My sister is my roommate, so she's helpful to an extent. But I mean, like, I literally, guys, have so many juice boxes sitting on my nightstand. I'm sure yours is the same way.
Yes.
Like, I buy juice boxes in bulk. Like, I wish I had a count of how many juice boxes I've consumed in my entire life.
Oh God.
It would be insane because, like, some nights I literally will have 4 a night and some nights none, which is great. But, like, I'm drinking juice boxes all the time and I really wish that I had a statistic on how many I've actually consumed. Like, it would be wild. I can't even imagine. So, kind of same deal, like, having close people that kind of know the basics, like, if my sugar's actually low. My sister does the same thing. If I'm, like, really not functioning, she's like, here you go, like, giving me so much. But for the most part, like, close circle knows the general idea of how diabetes goes. So, that's pretty much in a nutshell. Do you have anything else you want to add? Like, anything?
I have a question for you now that we're talking about apple juice. So, did you always like drank apple juice, or like did you have like a segue into? I've gone through a few snacks, a few phases, so I just want to hear what other people do.
That's an excellent question. I've always been a fruit snack girly.
Yes.
Fruit snacks are so easy to like shove in your purse, shove in your backpack. Like they're so small and compact. They don't expire. Like they're literally perfect. Juice boxes has always been my nighttime, but I used to do like flavored juice boxes. So like wild berry. And honestly, those got so old so quickly. Like I could not do it. And really the only flavor that would resonate with me that didn't make my stomach upset after a night of like having low blood sugar was apple juice. So I've been on an apple juice kick for definitely like the last 7 years.
Oh my God. See,
Yeah.
I started with Smarties because they were just like small, easy.
And Jess does that too.
Yeah. And then Jess got me onto Skittles.
Oh yeah, she does
So
Skittles too.
then I started doing Skittles, and then I was like, this is a lot of candy. Like, and Smarties got old so fast because they're just so chalky.
Yeah.
So I was off the Smarties, and I went on to the Skittles, and Skittles are just hard to carry around. I'd have to like portion out Ziploc bags.
True.
That was annoying. So fruit snacks became one of my best friends. And I would say, like, I don't know. Fruit snacks are fine.
Yeah.
I've just kind of been annoyed with them recently.
Really?
They just like, I'm getting tired of them. And it's been probably like 8 years that I've been on the fruit snack grind.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of tired of them. So now it's always been apple juice. I love apple juice, but that's not as easy to like throw into a bag or whatever. So when I can, I like to do apple juice. But then in high school and like middle school, I found out if I was like going low towards like bedtime, like if I did like apple juice, it would bring me like up and then I'd like come back down.
True, yeah.
So I used to do like milk before bed.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like protein and it'll like last.
Yeah.
But
just the quick sugar.
I don't do that as much anymore. I'm just big on the apple juice and fruit snacks.
Yeah. I'm big on, so I should have said that apple juice is only my nighttime thing because apple juice, I don't know, guys, I get embarrassed really easily. So pulling out a juice box in high school, like in class, so humbling.
Did you not go to the nurse when you were low in high school?
Sometimes I did, but I got to the age that I just was so annoyed with going to the nurse so often that I was like, I want to do it on my own because, you know, strong, independent woman, all that jazz.
Right.
But I was like so embarrassed to whip out a juice box in class, which it's still embarrassing. Like, I'm not doing that. So juice boxes are specifically for in the nighttime because I just can't bring myself to pull out a juice box in public.
So I'm in this class at school, and it's like basically like you run a restaurant. So like
that's so cool.
It's a lot, but it's a lot of running around because it's like a 9-hour class, and you're like manager or cook.
Wait, Cafe Laura.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So at Cafe Laura, like last week I was a manager, and so like I was like really running around, like I was in charge of the whole thing, and I ended up going low, and then I was like, I don't really want to eat fruit snacks, and I'm like, but I have an apple juice box, so I just pulled out like a juice box like in the middle of Cafe Laura, like I'm in the kitchen like just drinking this juice box, and I was like, where did you get that? And I'm like, guys, it's for my diabetes.
It's for
like,
my diabetes.
Don't make fun of me. It's for my diabetes. And no one cared, but it's a juice box, and I'm 21 years old.
Yeah, literally. We're like old, and we have juice boxes. Like, I don't even know, but we should not have shame over that. But I do. I'm like, this is so embarrassing.
I just hate like okay. So I went to the nurse in high school because like the Dexcom will beep like crazy.
Yeah.
And it just, I got embarrassed. And so I was like, I don't want that happening. So I went to the nurse. But also, I don't know if your T-Slim does this, but okay, so my Omnipod, if I go low now, my phone will beep. My Dexcom or my Omnipod will beep.
All the devices are beeping.
And then my PDM will beep too. All three things are beeping at once. And then you can't turn it off, which I understand, like, you know, if you're asleep, whatever, it should wake you up.
Yeah.
But when I'm, like, in class or if I'm, like, out at the movies or with friends, like, I, like, just run. I'm like, everything starts beeping. Does your T-Slim beep?
Yeah, it does, but it only beeps if I'm super low. I switched the settings because the beeping.
I can't do that.
The beeping drives me nuts. So I'm like,
so annoying.
I literally turned it off so it only beeps when you're urgent low because I'm like, I just don't want to hear the beeping all day long because it's obnoxious. Like,
yeah, it is.
And I can't imagine with you with like your PDM, or is that what it's called?
Yeah, PDM.
Yeah, okay. I don't have the same thing as her, but I don't know what it's called. So yeah, the PDM, like the Dexcom and like all the devices are screaming at you. It's really obnoxious.
It's so obnoxious. And then like, I don't know about you, but my blood sugar like for some reason takes longer to come up than like
Mm-hmm.
normal. Normal it's like 15 like minutes your blood sugar should come up after like eating something.
Yeah.
That's what my doctor told me like 10
Yeah.
years ago.
10
but,
years ago.
Yeah. So who knows? But like my blood sugar takes like 20 to 25 to 30 minutes to come up. So it's just like blaring like crazy, and I'm just like,
oh my gosh,
this is so embarrassing. Like,
Yeah.
just I know I'm low. Just like
Mhm.
let me hit a button and make it stop.
Stop.
But it won't for
Yeah.
obvious reasons. But it's
Yes.
just annoying.
Literally the nighttime blaring, I swear that makes me more mad. Like that makes me so mad, and I just can't stand hearing that beeping in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to.
I always feel bad when I have sleepovers.
Oh,
like
yeah.
my friends like came to my house this past weekend, and we all like were like 5 of us were in my room, like whatever. And like I was like, oh my god, if I go low right now, like it's gonna wake everybody up, and like
everybody's up in the house.
yeah, and sometimes even like my roommate, like I have my own room in like college, but like my roommate right next to me, like in the room over, I'm like, oh my god, like if I go low, can she hear all this? Like I just feel so bad.
No, that literally happens to me. So my roommates are night owls, so they like to stay up later than me. I like to go to bed early. And so my Dexcom, let's say it beeps in the middle of the night, they say that they can hear it out in the living room or whatever.
Yeah.
If they're out there doing homework, I'm like, oopsie.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, should we be coming in? But my sister and I share a room. So, but honestly, I just like reach over my nightstand, I drink the juice box, go right back to bed, you know?
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
like,
it's
she
so
knows.
Yeah, like we're doing okay.
I'll just say one last thing. Like I was told this when I was diagnosed. Oh my god, I didn't even tell you a big part of my diagnosis story. Sorry,
Oh wait,
totally.
let's include this in here.
So
Go
sorry.
ahead, share
This
it.
is like important for you, I feel like too, because okay, basically, sorry, really quick.
No, it's
I-
fine. We could talk all day long. I don't care. I just didn't know what else you wanted to talk about.
I don't know how I included this because it's such an important thing for both of us. You'll know when I tell you. So
Okay.
basically, so I got diagnosed on a Friday. Saturday, I was in the hospital all day, and Saturday was a game day for Penn State football. We are very big fans of Penn State football. Go to every game. So my parents had to cancel the tailgate.
No.
And they like brought all of our friends and like food and like everything to my hospital room.
No, that's so cute though.
No, it was so cute, but I couldn't eat anything because you know, like I don't know if it was like this for you, but when I was in the hospital, like they gave me like strict eating times
really
to like see like the effects of the insulin and how it was working. So like for the first like 24 hours, I couldn't eat anything, and then like I think I had maybe one meal there. It was like dinner, like at a certain time, but I couldn't eat anything for the first 24 hours that I was there. I could eat like ice chips.
Yeah.
But so like there's all this food, and my
Interesting.
parents like did this big thing.
Yeah. That's
And,
so
and
cute
we
though.
we watched the Penn State football game on the
That's
on the
so
TV in my
adorable.
hospital.
Hey,
room.
I know that there's a picture of me in my hospital bed with a Penn State shirt on, and my mom
Yep.
posted it, and she was like, "She's good, guys." Like, because I was diagnosed in October.
Yeah.
So, but no, that did not happen to me. Whenever I was diagnosed, the very next morning, they brought me like a huge pancake chocolate brownie
What?
breakfast. Yes.
I went to the
and
wrong
my parents,
hospital.
yeah, my parents were like, "Wait, what?" And
Yeah.
I was obviously like loving
I
it.
love- yeah.
Yeah, I was like all over that. But yeah, I don't remember them ever having like a strict eating schedule for
so
me.
weird.
But I don't know. Maybe that's just like the crew that I was with. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the last thing I was gonna say before I totally forgot to tell you that part.
Oh.
When I got diagnosed, I was like originally brought into like the ER,
Mhm.
and I was like there for like a little bit,
Yeah,
and
same.
we were talking to like a doctor there, and this was 10 years ago, so I can't believe like how much it's changed. But like the doctor said to me, he was like, diabetes is like a key in a lock. The key fits into the lock. They just can't figure out how to turn it. That's how close they are to figuring out a cure. And
Yeah.
that's like always stuck with me because I'm like, you know, like we are that close that literally you just need to turn the key.
Yeah.
And there are so many things out there like the bionic pancreas and
Yes.
the islet cells. And like there's like some people out there living who had diabetes that like went through clinical trials and like they're fine
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah, so far, like Jess has pretty much. I talked to her about this recently. So Jess, comment if I'm not saying this right, but I'm pretty sure you have like the pump that literally you don't have to do anything to it. It just regulates based on your sugar or something.
Wow.
I don't remember all the details. We talked about it like kind of a while ago, but she got it and she said that for 2 weeks it was gonna take to get used to her body and like
Yeah.
everything. So that's crazy. Like the cure for diabetes is definitely so close. And like she said, this was 10 years ago or 12 years ago for me. Like when they were saying, oh, like diabetes is so like close to being cured and whatnot. And you did the JDRF walks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did like little walks together that would be raising money on behalf of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and that was like a way to raise money to like find a cure or just research in general. And like I can say from when I was diagnosed, which was 12 years ago, the technology then versus now is absolutely wild, and I'm so thankful that like I've been able to get the newest technology and everything, because like I can literally vividly remember my very first sugar tester. It was like ancient. It was so ratchet. It was so ratchet. Like I don't know if you remember, it was it was like digital, but like old school.
Yeah,
old
no,
school.
definitely had something very similar to that.
Yeah, like, and it also took like huge amounts of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And my newer ones, as the years went by, took barely anything. And you could also, if you didn't fill up the thing with blood, you could refill it without you wasting a test strip. I loved that feature when it came out. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. And now we both have Dexcoms, which we don't even have to prick our finger anymore. That used to not be the reality, and I hated pricking my finger.
Oh, I hate it. My fingers would have holes in them.
They would literally be so...
And then they would like callus.
They would callus. They would be a mess. Bad. Yeah. And literally now we don't even have to prick our finger because we have this really awesome technology that's on our phones, which we're always with our phones. So like it works out perfectly. And like your pump corrects for highs, lows, whatever. Same with mine. So we are both very fortunate to have like really awesome technology and everything, and like so thankful for all of the progress that they made with diabetes. So
yeah, my grandma, when she was diagnosed, she was like 20 something, so you know, like 50 some odd years ago, and she had to... First off, your blood sugar changes like every minute, like every 5 minutes, really. Like it's always changing based on like what you're doing, what you're eating, whatever. So my grandmother, she used to have to pee on a stick, and then it would tell her blood sugar 2 hours later of what it was 2 hours ago. So it's not even
accurate.
Helpful.
Yeah.
But that's what she used to have to do.
That's crazy.
So like for her now, she's on the Dexcom, she's on the Omnipod, like whatever. But I just can't imagine, like, then there's no point of even peeing on a stick.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's literally like, not helpful whatsoever.
Yeah, that's same with my grandma. I don't remember her ever telling me stories about peeing on a stick and waiting 2 hours, but I remember pricking her finger. She would prick her finger back in the day when she was in her 20s and have to wait like minutes and minutes and minutes for it to actually tell you your blood sugar. So that's just crazy. I can't even imagine what that was like.
Yeah, we're so fortunate.
Yeah, we really are. And also that actually reminds me, literally next week I have an endocrinologist appointment.
Oh God, I have to make one. I keep putting it off because I'm moving in a few months. So I'm like, I'll just get a new doctor. And they keep calling me and they're like, please. And it's still like my pediatrician, like my pediatric.
Are you serious?
I haven't switched over because like she's like, I can take you until you're 25. Oh, and I was like, well, I'm probably gonna be moving anyway, so like I'll just use her until I'm done with like college.
That's so funny.
I go into like a little kid's doctor's office in Baltimore. I go to Johns Hopkins.
Oh, nice,
which is where Jess used to go.
Yes, I remember that.
So I go to Johns Hopkins, drive like an hour and a half every time I need to go to the doctor's, and I walk in with like 20 children in there. So
yeah, that's
so
it's just funny. Yeah, well, whenever I switched over to my non-pediatric endocrinologist, it was COVID. I've never met my
oh my gosh,
endocrinologist in person. We always do online. Yeah, because she can see like all my results.
Are you meeting her next week?
Nope, it'll be online. It'll be online.
That's another day.
Yeah, that's another day. I don't even know when I'm gonna meet her in person. Probably never if I'm moving too. So like I don't know. Yeah, but I have to get like my A1C, which is a whole other thing, y'all. I hate that.
Yeah. I hate the blood work.
Yeah,
like
the blood work.
I don't like. The A1C doesn't bother me too much. It just stresses me out. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I was really high the past 3 months, like whatever. But
that's me right now.
the blood work just, that's the worst.
Yeah,
part.
It is the worst. Yeah, I just hate getting stuck with a needle. I mean, we are getting stuck with needles.
That's what people always say to me. They're like, how can you say that? You literally have 2 needles inside of you right now. And I'm like, it's different.
It's different.
You don't understand. Yeah. But it is very different.
Yeah, like, both of us, every 3 days for me, I'm sticking myself, and every 10 days for my Dexcom. It's probably same for you.
Exactly same, 3 and 10.
We're always sticking ourselves, we're just like push pins.
Yeah.
I remember somebody told me that whenever I was young, and I was like, wow.
Like, you're not wrong, but like.
Yeah, but like,
Do you get like tan lines in the summertime?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I get such bad tan lines.
Yep,
Spring
tan
break,
lines.
all my friends were like, oh, look at
See
look
that?
at that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that happens.
That happens, yeah, because whenever you have a device on for 10 days and you're at the beach for 7 of those 10,
Yeah.
like, you're getting tan line.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that.
It's always so embarrassing walking around because people are like, what is that even from? I'm
Yeah,
like,
because they're confused.
yeah, because it's such like a perfect like oval or like
Mhm.
circle. And I'm like,
Literally perfect.
well, you see
Yeah,
this thing on
it's-
my other leg? That's what that's from.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Also, I have the funniest story. I just thought of this. I don't know why, but one time, guys, somebody thought my insulin pump, you will not believe this, was a battery pack to light up something. This girl, literally random on the street, she was like, "Oh, what lights up on your outfit?" I was like, "Ma'am, no,
Lights
that's
up.
actually my insulin pump. I have type 1 diabetes." Like, she literally thought it was a battery pack. I was like, "What in the
Oh
world?"
my God. I've never had something crazy like that. Like sometimes
That was probably the wildest one.
there's people, or I've seen like commercials for like very similar to like Omnipods, like for people who had cancer and are going through like chemo,
Uh-huh.
and they like get their like medicine through that.
Yeah.
So people have asked me if I had cancer, and I was
Oh.
like, "What?" And then they're like, "Wait, we see it on the commercials," and I'm like, "Oh," it was like, "No, no, no." I was
Yeah.
like, "It's just diabetes."
Or
like,
a nicotine pouch.
yes,
Like,
I
when
get
people
that
are quitting
too.
nicotine, they wear those little
Yes.
pouches. People think that I'm trying to quit nicotine.
Yeah,
They're like, "Oh, yeah." I'm like, "Nope, not the same thing."
yeah, but no one's ever thought I'm like a battery pack or
Yeah,
anything. Like, it's
I had
just,
that
like,
one time
other medical
years and years
things.
ago. It was so crazy. Oh my
That's-
goodness.
Do you think it's better that? Okay, so how old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 10.
10. Okay,
Mhm.
and I was 11. So, do you think it's better to know a life before diabetes, or do you think it's better because my friend's mom has had diabetes since she was 2 months old. So like she doesn't know her life without diabetes.
That's crazy.
So, what do you think is better, having a life before diabetes or?
Ooh,
only
I
a
love
life with
this question.
diabetes?
This is a great question. I feel like I think it's better. I don't even know what I'm going to say here.
There's no right answer.
There's no right answer, but I feel like I would like it better to know what life was like without diabetes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like that's just my opinion because, like, I can't imagine what it would be like being so young, like 2 months old or even a toddler, because I do know people that have been diagnosed as a toddler. I just can't imagine what that life would be like being so small.
Yeah.
But also, if you don't know anything different, then
But still, I agree with you. I think it's better to have a life before.
yeah.
Because yes, our lives change, but like, and I would say drastically. It's
pretty
it's
drastic.
But I don't think it's like, it's nothing unbearable. You
Yeah,
know?
no.
But like, I cannot imagine being a parent with like a toddler who can't, or a baby who can't even express how they're feeling.
They don't even know. Like,
Exactly. And then like just watching them, like toddlers and babies and even little kids are so bad with like needles in the first place. I would never want to like put my child through that.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's better to have a life before. I mean, I got until I was 11 and
Mhm.
I think it was fine.
Yeah,
Like,
same. And I was 10. And like, although, yeah, so now I'm 22. And so I've had it for almost 12 years now. And like, truly, it's hard to remember what life was like before diabetes because it's
Mhm.
been so long. But also, yeah, I cannot imagine having diabetes at being like 6 years old and going to school. Like you were saying, the questions that we got in middle school was crazy. I can't
Mhm.
imagine what the questions were like in elementary school for somebody.
Or even imagine if just like a little kid like thought that they were funny, didn't know what they were doing, and just like ripped off your pod.
Yeah,
Because like they're young, they don't know better.
they
like,
don't know better.
Like I don't like they probably just thought it was like a sticker or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I would be so scared to like send my kid like that young. But
To
like
school.
I mean, some parents that's the reality. Like
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately, yeah.
I think it's better. I like when I was 11, I matured very quickly because of
Oh,
this.
same, 100%.
And so I think that like it was beneficial in a way too. It's
Mhm.
not all bad.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was better to have.
Yeah, no, I think that
Normal
too because
childhood.
like you said, maturing super
Yeah.
rapidly at 10 years old because you have to manage this kind of on your own. I mean, you have your parents whatever, but you're like learning about this. And yeah, so I guess we got the better side of it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. But also, the one thing that I'm super thankful for with having diabetes is the people that I met because, like, Jess is one of my best friends. You're a good friend of mine. I have plenty of other friends in the diabetes community that have been, like, so helpful. Like we were saying earlier, literally to, like, call up and be saying, hey, I need a Dexcom or whatever, you know? It's just so clutch to have a friend like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, so, and now here we are, we're seniors, and we're talking about diabetes on a podcast, so look at us.
Crazy how things change.
Yeah, little us would not know that this.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I was actually going through like our Snapchat like conversations
Really?
like this morning because I was like trying to figure out how long we actually did know each other. And like we have like some of the funniest pictures in front of like Beaver Stadium when we're both just like in our weird awkward phases. I was like, geez, we really have known each other for like a while.
Yeah.
It's been a time.
Yeah, I should like put them in here. I'll put the pictures of us whenever we were small at Penn State games because that's oftentimes when we would see each other. It was Penn State games because her family's huge Penn State family. Obviously, I grew up here, huge Penn State family. Now we go here, like, you know, the whole thing.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well, is that everything, Ashley?
I think that's everything. Thank you so much for having me here. It was so fun.
Yes, we had to talk about the discipline habit that only a few people can share, but I think it's cool to talk about, and also a lot of people are curious. So here's a little bit of a TED Talk for you too. You probably learned a lot. So thanks so much, Ashley, for coming on, and thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Never wanna stop.